You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, it's Matt Cannon and Michael Wax. Joe Demetaro could not be with us this week, but he'll be back very, very soon. Guys, welcome to the show. We've got some awesome we got a good week of Lightning hockey, I should say, to talk about today. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jake. Thank you for asking. It was a good week of Lightning hockey, despite ending the week on a loss. It wasn't a terribly bad loss. It was a very entertaining game, so I was a little upset with it, at first, but I've learned to live with it. Michael, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. This is our Eclipse episode, I guess you could say. So I guess we should see what kind of wacky shenanigans we'll get up to. I'm already here in place of Joe, so I wonder what's going to happen.
Well, it's going to be a fun episode that we got here for you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one. We'll be talking about the game recaps, of course, or your 3 stars of the week, as we always do. And, of course, we'll be looking at the upcoming games. We also have some injury news to start off with, guys. And Mikhail Sergachev was out there for the team photos today, and then he stayed on the ice for practice in a red no-contact jersey. So Sergachev back on the ice, practicing with the team. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that Sergachev is going to be back in 2 weeks or anything like that. He's still got some time to go, but this is a very positive thing to see him back on the ice with teammates. Reporters talked to him after the game, and he said that he felt great, and now things can change, but he also felt good just being back on the ice with his teammates and not skating on the ice all by himself. So some positive news for the Lightning there on that injury front. Matt, your thoughts on Sergachev being back on the ice here?
I think it was Michael that said it in the chat. Like, what a superhuman. I mean, to see the rate that he's recovering at is really impressive. And I think, each time we do bring it up, I always talk about the mindset on recovering from an injury like this. Like, he seems like he is, as optimistic as anybody could be with that, specific injury. Personally, I'd be, a year behind his recovery rate at this point. But yeah, mindset and, just wanting to get back into it. I hope he's not rushing himself. I'm sure he's under, great care and under some eyeballs, making sure he's not rushing himself. We going good, looking good heading into the playoffs here. So no need to rush. But again, mindset is a huge deal, and just good to see him back on 2 feet, back on skates.
Yeah, and I know that John Cooper was also asked about his status today, and he had mentioned that Sergachev is not going to be ready for round 1. So all of the doubters and cap shenanigan people can really put those rumors to rest. I think everybody saw the injury happen. So it's not like the Lightning have just made this up. But it's ridiculous to see him even on the ice right now, even with like 2 weeks to go in the regular season. So I'm very happy to see him back. I think his presence would do a lot to the defensive unit that has a lot of bodies already, even if he's not going to be at 100% at all this season.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, too, just about his presence, Michael. That's probably a boost for the team as well, just seeing their guy back out on their ice. So I'm sure everybody was feeling good that he was there. Still a little ways away. We don't have an exact timetable, but again, just good to see him back out there on the ice. All right, guys, we've got some games to talk about here, and we're starting off with a fun one. The Lightning taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs, which, of course, we did the live stream for right here on RBLR Sports YouTube page, I should say. If you missed that one, like and subscribe and ring that bell for notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss out. We have a ton of fun in these. Thank you to everybody who came out and watched with us. It was a great time. We got some awesome comments. So again, thank you to everybody who came out for that. We'll definitely be doing more in the future. So again, ring that bell. You don't want to miss out those future ones. But going to the game, guys, 4-1, Lightning win it. This was a really solid game for the Lightning. I would almost say close to perfect. The Leafs got the one goal on the power play off a quick face-off win. It was Austin Matthews because, of course, he scored. He's just scoring at an unbelievable pace this year. But other than that, the Lightning really in control for a majority of this game, and they get the big win, a big 2 points, which gives them a chance to try and catch Toronto here late in the season.
Yeah, not that it was a mirror image of the Boston game from last week, but it was very close to that. Not flawless, but pretty close to flawless. And I thought the Lightning did a good job of, and they have over the last couple of weeks of picking out the top line guys and really shutting them down. Other than the one Matthews goal, real quick off the power play, I didn't think he was that much of a presence on the ice, along with Nylander, who did have maybe not a breakaway chance, but he had one really good chance that Vasilevsky stuffed him on. And Mitch Marner, he wasn't playing in the game, but Toronto, they've got really great forwards. I hate to admit it, but they did a really good job of keeping them at bay and really just not even letting them set up in our zone. I thought it was a great game. And again, when the Leafs lose, America and Canada wins. I mean, am I wrong? These games, they mean a lot to me. Like everybody else, we all collectively hate the Leafs. We love to see it. But again, potential maybe, matchup later on in the playoffs. It's definitely not going to be a first round. Wait, yeah, what am I saying? It's not going to be a first round matchup, so we can't play the Leafs. They're not going to make it past that. But no, just a great game altogether.
It took me a minute there, Matt, but I got
it took me a minute to correct myself too. No, just an all-around good game. I think everybody's very happy coming out of it, and just seeing Nick Paul score another big goal in Toronto, you gotta love it. The only thing we were missing from that game was the bring it to me, Sally, whatever he did in Game 7, the spread eagle.
Yeah, I think the most important and most vital stat from that game is in the third period with the Lightning up by multiple goals, they outshot Toronto 11-4. That is exactly what the Lightning have been looking for the entire season. And I think we brought that up on the live stream as well. It was a really stout defensive performance. It really did feel like the defensive structure that we've criticized all season long, and frankly, we'll continue to criticize it when it breaks down, like it did in some other games this week. They played a really good game. Like I cannot complain. They played a really good game. They scored on their chances. They limited Toronto, especially in that third period. They weathered a storm in the first 20 minutes or so. And I think it was Steve Dangle on Twitter. He had said, this version of Vasilevsky should scare a lot of people. And he makes the East a lot more complicated. And I agree, because Vasi was great in that game as well.
Michael, I'm glad you brought that up, because it was the next thing I was going to say. Yeah, Vasilevsky was great in this game, and it's definitely no consolation prize to get the Lightning in the first round. It's like the East, again, I feel like the East for the last couple of years has always been a bloodbath. I mean, you got the Lightning, the Bruins, the Leafs, the Panthers. Like, there's no easy matchup in the first round. I mean, granted, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Every team is there for a reason, but the East especially, just such a tough road for any team. So, especially if you're facing Andre Vasilevsky, who has been absolutely unbelievable. He's been fantastic, no question about it. And I'm going to say it. This guy came off back surgery, right? If you guys missed out on the live stream, I'm sure we talked about that a little bit as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at the next game, which was against the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, this was on a back-to-back as well. And no, it was not goaltender Jonas Johansson, because he'd been dealing with an injury, which I actually still don't even know what happened, because this was an injury that did not happen in the game. It happened during practice, obviously, or maybe even not. I actually don't even know that. But they haven't said anything because we're close to the playoffs, and this is the time where everything gets tight-lipped, and we don't actually know what these injuries are or what's happening. But Matt Tompkins was in net for the Lightning. Fun fact, by the way, Tompkins' last NHL win and his only NHL win was against the Montreal Canadiens. So trying to go 2 for 2 in this game. A little bit of a slow start for the Lightning, but they battle back and they keep pushing this one. They eventually take a huge lead. Montreal then starts to come back a little bit again and makes things interesting late. The Lightning hold on to win this one 7-4. So lots of goals in this game. Guys, I want to get your thoughts on Matt Tompkins. Let's start there, because I thought, despite the score, I thought Tompkins played all right.
He got the job done. I won't say he was perfect by any stretch or anything. It's been a couple of months since he's, seen any NHL action. This is before Vasilevsky got back in the lineup. But he was fine. He plugged the holes and he was good enough to get the job done. So I'm not going to say, he was perfect or anything. He did make a couple of good saves, but towards the end there, none of the goals that went in against him were bad goals, I'll say. None of them I would be like, I want that. They were well-placed shots and just, defensive breakdowns, especially late in the game. So I think he did just fine. Exactly what we needed him to do in that case. And again, it's got to be super cool, being a very, very fringe NHL backup and having your only 2 career wins come against the Montreal Canadiens. That's a really cool thing to keep in your back pocket. But again, I thought he was, just fine, just good enough in this game and, did exactly what we asked of him. Michael?
I thought it was great. I don't know where the slander from
It's not slander.
The stats admittedly don't look great, but that third period, I know the Lightning got outscored 2-1. They also killed off 2 penalties, and Matt Tompkins was a big reason why. And ultimately, if Montreal scores on one of them, the Lightning might blow that lead, which is crazy to say because what are they up 6-2 at the end of the second period against the Montreal Canadiens team that isn't very good. Like, you should shut that game down, and it got a little scary at the end. But I thought Tompkins was really good. There weren't any goals where I was like, oh, you probably want that one back. It really did feel like a lot of defensive mistakes for a team, understandably, that was on the second half of a back-to-back. So, that was a game where I didn't really put too much stock into things. But the things that we saw, that positives, you like to see, like Matt Tompkins coming up and playing well in a pinch. I believe Kucherov had another 3-point night. Nick Paul had 2 goals. Like, these are things that you really want to see, especially Paul. Secondary scoring is so vital, and he's been a monster in these past few games.
For this being a back-to-back game, the Lightning came out and they were a little slow, but they got back right up and they were able to control this game. And then you start to saw the back-to-back situation come back again when they started to slow things down in that third period and Montreal pushed back. But luckily in the NHL playoffs, well, I should say normally, because the NHL thought it's been funny to slip in some back-to-backs in the first round every once in a while the last couple of years. Why, I don't know. But for the most part, there are no back-to-backs in the playoffs. So that's always a good thing for the Lightning. They're not going to have to deal with that kind of situation. And they do get the win at the end of the day. And I agree with you guys. I thought Matt Tompkins overall was really solid. Stats don't look great on him, but stats don't always tell the whole story. Guys, any other thoughts on this game? I mean, again, back-to-back, you don't put a ton of stock into it. But the offense particularly looked really good. They scored 7 goals in this one.
Yeah, the offense was good. I thought those guys came to play. It really tailed off towards the end, but I hate to say it. I think we got really lucky in this game. I try to be very real about my bias with the officials, and I try to not be that guy. We got lucky in this game. I think there were a couple of times that we got away with, a couple of penalties, specifically when Steven Stamkos accidentally elbowed Brandon Hagel in the face. That was scary. And then Mikey Asimon, I love him for this, but at the same time, cool off a little bit, goes and attacks Arbor Jack guy because he thinks he, elbowed Hagel in the face or something. It should have been at the very least, an instigator or something like that, a roughing. I don't know. I will say we got away with some stuff this game. I hate to be that guy, but it doesn't matter to me towards the end of the day. Again, if the circumstances were different, I'd be complaining. I'd be complaining a lot, but hey, still, you win the game 7-4. You can't blame a whole lot on officiating either. So who knows if those power plays would have done anything, but a little bit of a lucky game, I will say.
Listen, officiating is not biased. It's just incompetent.
Yes.
I'm not going to throw and say oh, they're biased against my team or they're biased for my team. They're just bad. Kucherov did hit 90 assists in this game. That's something I totally forgot about, which I know we're going to get to the Pittsburgh game, but a lot of the talk has been around Connor McDavid hitting 100 assists. Guys, Nikita Kucherov still has an opportunity to hit 100 assists, which only 3 people have done, I think, ever. And McDavid hasn't even done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be awesome. And we also swept the season series against Montreal. From what I remember, all 4 of these games caused some sort of panic attack. So I guess that's a good news for Montreal. Like, you guys were competitive in all of them. One of them was the ridiculous. They blew the whistle, but they didn't blow the whistle, and everybody stopped playing game. That's the one I'm going to remember the most.
Best game ever. Best game ever. I was at that one, and that was still one of my favorite games of all time. But Michael,
you're in the recharge video.
I am. I'm actually.
You are in the recharge video.
If you watch the recharge video from with that game in it, and it's which goal is it? I think it's
Calvin DeHaan. It's Calvin DeHaan.
It's Calvin DeHaan's goal, and you can when they're zooming in on him, you can see me and my brother on the glass celebrating the goal, which is so cool. I took a screenshot of it. It's a fun little thing, but
it's in the hype video too.
It is in our hype video as well. But yeah, it was not. That's not why it was my favorite game. It was a fun game with that crazy moment too as well. But Michael, let's focus on the positive that you brought up there. Nikita Kucherov staying unbelievably hot. I mean, to have a chance to hit 100 assists is absolutely crazy, and he's also put up a ton amount of points. Nikita Kucherov is on absolute fire, just like this fire merch that you can get right here on shop.rblrsports.com. The awesome team-inspired merch that you have, of course, from the Lightning, the Rays, and the Rowdies. You guys name it. Go check it out. Shop.rblrsports.com. Links, as always, are in the description. And for you guys at home, you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order as well. So be sure to get over there and check that out. So let's get back to it. Guys, last game, Lightning taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. This was an interesting one. I want to get your thoughts on how much stock you guys put into this game. And I'll say this first. Listen, the Lightning lost this game. They didn't look great in this one, in my opinion. And I don't want to make excuses, but there were a lot of different interesting situations. The Lightning had already clinched by this point, and you didn't have Anthony Cirelli in the lineup. Someone else was also out too as well, missing –
Janot.
Janot, yes, correct. Janot. So Janot and Cirelli.
Wait, Brendan Hagel did play. My bad.
Yeah.
Hagel played.
But he got dinged up against Montreal.
Janot and Cirelli did not play. You had already clinched, and it's a 1:00 game. This is a tough game and the Penguins were playing unbelievably well. So a tough game to come in for the Lightning. Again, I don't want to make excuses because they lost this game at the end of the day, 5-4. And it was an interesting one because the Penguins went up big in this one. They were up 4-1 at one point, and the Lightning came back and actually tied it 4-4 on a Stamkos power play goal in the third period. And then the Penguins ended up getting one late to eventually secure that win. So I want to get your thoughts on this one. How much stock do you put into it, the way this one went, guys?
I don't know. I'm disappointed. I think Pittsburgh is a beatable opponent, especially when you look at, how they've been this year. I think they are a bit of, frauds in the playoff race. Well, anybody looking for that wild card 2 spot is a fraud, let's be honest. But I don't know. I thought it was a winnable game, but then you kind of look at it. Pittsburgh, they've been on a roll recently. I think they've won like 10 or 8 of their last 10 games or something like that. They're really catching fire at the right time. It was a great comeback by the Lightning. I only got to watch about half of this game because I was at work. So the other half, I was kind of listening to it. And, when the game was over, I was pretty upset. This is one of, I'm after the last, month or so, I'm not used to losing so much. I'm so spoiled. So I was a little disappointed at the end of the game, but then I don't know. I was kind of trying to blame the refs, but after the game, disappointed, but Pittsburgh's really good. They're really putting it on at the right time. So you can't be upset if you lose a game that you really only played 30 minutes instead of 60. The first period was really rough. I got to tune in for parts of it, listening to parts of it. Dave Mishkin was not necessarily a happy camper in that first period. When Dave Mishkin, he keeps it real. He keeps it, realer than anybody. So when he's getting frustrated in the booth, I'm frustrated. So I don't know. You cannot win a game if you only play 30 minutes is what I'm trying to say.
Noted ref hater Matt Gannon. I think that's what we're looking for. I would agree to a certain point. Like, it's the Metro, or as people have called it, the Midtro when talking about wildcard true. You should beat these teams. It's not a back-to-back situation. You are chasing Toronto for that third spot, and with the loss becomes that much more unlikely that you're going to get the third spot. I think the game at the end of the season does help with that. What were you saying, Jake?
I just slipped in until we beat Toronto again.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. again, I didn't get a chance to watch any of this game, but I like the resiliency. I appreciate the fact that they came back from 4-1 down, especially against Pittsburgh, which has always had a place in my mind of being this unbeatable, unstoppable juggernaut, especially with Sidney Crosby, because of the playoff matchups that we've had before, and the fact that Crosby is going to go down as a top 5 player of all time. Like, once they get you in a position that you're not comfortable in, they're just going to tighten the vice grip. And they didn't do that because the Lightning came back in this one. And ultimately, they didn't finish the job. But much like another Tampa Bay team this weekend, the Rays, I'm glad to see the fight. And while the Rays were able to make a comeback in one of those games that they, clawed back in, unfortunately, the Lightning were not.
If you want more Rays content, by the way, be sure to go check out the other podcast here on RBLR Sports as well. The RBLR Rays guys do a fantastic job as well. Again, it was a weird game for me with the 1:00 start and all these other factors that went into it. I don't think Vasilevsky had his best game in this one. There were a couple of goals that I thought he probably should have had, and I'm sure he thinks that too. I mean, anytime Vasilevsky's a little bit off, something is a little weird. So there was that factor as well. It wasn't a perfect game for the Bolts, but Michael, you said it, the resiliency, right? They fought back in this one and they did come back. So that's a positive you can take away from this game. This is also they have one more road game after this. So a lot more home games now for the Bolts. They don't have to go into those tough environments until the playoffs start, of course. So, Matt, you brought up Dave Mishkin. I do want to bring him up as well. His new book just came out, I believe, as well. So we should give Mishkin a shout out. The book is called Blind Squirrel, correct? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Blind Squirrel. It seems like a great book. I got to try. Honestly, I want to read it myself just to check it out. But if you want to go and support Dave Mishkin as well for his new book, be sure to go check that out. He's been doing some interviews with local news as well. So Blind Squirrel is the name of the book. And you can follow Mishkin on Twitter as well to check out what he's been saying about it and all those fun news interviews and stuff like that. So, all right. Let's go to our 3 stars of the week, guys. Despite the loss that they had this week, 2 losses for the full week, when you look at it, they still played pretty well. And a lot of guys scored a lot of points in this one. So it was another week where it was a little bit harder to choose the 3 stars, but here's our picks for it. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say as well. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree with our picks. Starting off with the number 3 star, it goes to the man that can do it all, Nick Paul, who gets the 3rd star of the week. He was great. With 4 goals over the course of these 3 games. He was a scoring machine in the front of that net. Matt, you mentioned the big goal against Toronto, and he gets the 3rd star of the week.
Nick Paul, he does it all. Like I was saying all of last year, he's the best player in the world, man. I mean, I don't know why people keep talking about this Kucherov guy when we got Nick Paul here. No, in all seriousness, he had a stellar week. And, early in the season, he had like 5 power play goals and maybe 1 even strength goal. Like, he was straight up a power play merchant. So it's really nice to see these goals starting to come at even strength. He's really starting to, drive his own line, I guess, if you will. Like, he's making more of an impact out there. He's, a physical presence as well. And he's a super, super good skater. Very underrated shot that he's kind of starting to use more. A lot of these or at least 2 of them were nice snap wrist shot goals. A couple were in front. Very versatile player. That's the best way I can put him. He's not very fast, but he's versatile, and he's a big frame, big body, the perfect guy you want to have in front of the net. He's the perfect power play guy too. Like, I'm glad to see that he is really stuck in, on the power play 1 unit as well. There's been, Tony Cirelli and maybe Brandon Hagel thrown in there, occasionally, but Nick Paul has been the, number 1 behind the net or in front of the net guy on the power play. So, and yeah, he is smashing his career high in goals as well. I think he's at 23 now, where his previous high was 16 or 17. So just, again, continued improvement from a guy some people are kind of so-so on. I don't understand why some people are kind of so-so on Nick Paul, but again, just a fantastic week from him, and we just continue to see him get better and better. What a steal from JBB.
Love some Nick Paul, but you're right. Career high in goals, career high in assists, career high in points this year. He's not gonna quite light up the plus minus stat this year. I think that's where a lot of the naysayers come in as, his 5-on-5 play, admittedly, it's gotten better, but it did not start out that great. And I think you mentioned that at the beginning of your diatribe about Nick Paul. But really, really happy that he's in one of those spurts where he's actually putting things together, because he is one of those hot and cold players, much like Anthony Cirelli was before him and is currently. I think when you have those two guys, at least one of them needs to be performing. And luckily, we had Cirelli take his turn, and now it's Nick Paul's turn. So very happy about the way that Nick Paul has been playing. The way that his goals have come about have been just in front of the net, finding loose pucks, deflections, and really being a pain to the goaltenders in front and to the defenders in front. And those are the types of goals you're going to need to score in the playoffs.
Yeah, well put. And Nick Paul, who, even though it's funny, he's had a career season in points and assists and goals, you just mentioned, Michael, but it feels like he's had a couple of slumps a couple of times. Like he could be even doing even better than he actually is, which is crazy to say as well.
Coming into this little weekend stretch between March 14th and April 1st, he had 1 goal and is that 3 assists in about 14 games. Like that's not good enough. And so he's really turned it on. He's one of those players that, again, is hot and cold, and right now he's in the hot streak.
Well, let's hope it continues that way as we get into the playoffs, because we know how many big goals he has scored for the Lightning in the postseason. All right, going to our number 2 star of the week. It's my captain, Steven Stamkos, who has been absolutely on a tear as of late. A guy who has been talked about a lot in the contract negotiations thing early on the season. He is showing why he needs to be extended right now. 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points, and was a +1 as well. Steven Stamkos gets the 2nd star of the week.
He's, rivaling Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov for strong second halves of the year. He is really starting to turn it on. It seems like just like Nick Paul and Anthony Cirelli, he's kind of had a bit, of some slumps this year, but and it sucks. Not that it sucks. I'm making a joke here, but it sucks that he's, turning it on right now, because it's going to really help, his contract talks. He might be pricing himself out of here, which is a great problem to have.
Don't even bring that up, Matt.
It's a great problem to have. Focus on the now, Jake. He's scoring like a machine. He's scoring like Steven Stamkos. He's doing it, from his patented office. He's got a little bit, he's got an office right next to Ovi's office, which is Steven's office. But again, just the one-timer goals, he's got the best one-timer in the league. Ovi, I do really respect it, but Stamkos has just got the accuracy, not maybe the power that Ovi has, but it's just perfectly placed each and every time. So yeah, and it's just good to see him playing both ends of the ice as well. He's not, the turnover machine or the -25 kind of guy that we saw earlier this year too. He's really starting to turn that around as well. The 5-on-5 play is really starting to find him. What are you guys chuckling about?
Matt, I want to be honest with you. Listen, comparing Stamkos and Ovi, I think is a little disrespectful. Ovi just shoots from one spot. Stamkos at least has more talent to do things. I'm probably going to get hit in the comment for this one, but listen, for those that don't know, I'm not a big Washington Capitals / Alexander Ovechkin fan, so I had to throw that out there, bro. But Michael, please go ahead on Stamkos' 2nd star of the week.
12 goals in 12 games. He's been real good. He's been real good recently, and he's not taking a ton of faceoffs over those times, but he's winning them. He's giving the Lightning puck possession as well. He hasn't been a defensive nightmare as he was in the beginning of the season. Again, I'm going to attribute that to my article that I wrote over on Bolt Report _ TV on Twitter is where you can find that article, as well as our website. Give ourselves a little shameless plug. I talked about how terrible Stamkos was at 5-on-5. I believe that was around the All-Star break. And since then, he has been fantastic. And so you're welcome, Steven. I am taking all of that credit.
So, Jake, can you tell us about how Vinny Lecavalier is better than Ovechkin now, too?
Okay, so again, for those that don't know, that was a short we did over on the Bolt Report, and I, of course, used to play on words. Vinny is actually better at Ovechkin in penalty shots. He's got a better shooting percentage there. So I played on words with that and ran with the title. And yeah, people weren't too happy about that one.
He knew
Uh,
exactly what he was doing.
hey,
He knew exactly what he was doing.
technically speaking, Vincent Lecavalier is better than Alexander Ovechkin in penalty shots. You just got to wait a couple seconds for that last bit there. But
You know what? You know what? Between the days, a 3-day stretch where the Lightning played the Senators and Mitchell Chaffee scored a goal, Mitchell Chaffee was better than Alex Ovechkin because Alex Ovechkin had no goals.
see, I mean, you're not wrong, technically. All right, let's get to our number one star of the week before we get too crazy here on the Alexander Ovechkin slander, because he is an unbelievable player. But our number one star of the week, it's his stars. I mean, who else could it be? Nikita Kucherov, who had an unbelievable week once again here in these 3 games we talked about this week. He had 1 goal, 8 assists for 9 points. If you include that game against Detroit as well, it's 1 goal, 9 assists for 10 points. He was also named the number one star of the week by the NHL. So Nikita Kucherov lighting the lamp like it's nobody's, like that Geico commercial, that old Geico commercial. He's literally just turning on all the lamps anywhere he can. That points race was really close for a couple seconds, and then Nikita Kucherov went and had this week, and he's pulled away a little bit once again here. So it's just unbelievable. Guys, I don't know if you're going to have anything to say for this one, but if you got anything, please take it away.
I mean, I ran out of stuff to say in like November. So, I mean, I can say that he had 3 straight 3-point nights, which is super impressive in and of itself. He's really starting to extend that, the lead from Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid in there. Like you were saying earlier, Michael, nobody's talking about Kucherov and the possibility of him hitting 100 assists. It's entirely possible. What, he's at 130, or he's at 93 assists right now. He can, and there's 6 games left. He can totally do that, especially if he keeps up at the rate that he's playing right now. He had a little bit of a dip, let's say in, early March or something, where McKinnon really caught up to him, but he's just, he wants the scoring title at the very least. He wants the Hart, I'm sure. He wants the Stanley Cup like everybody else as well. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot more to say about Kucherov. Again, I exhausted myself. Shoot, the first day of the season, actually. Like, what more can I say? The only thing I really got left in me is arguing his case to win the Hart. So, Michael, do you have any other insight that you can share with us on why Kucherov is the best player in the world?
Before we get into a self-proclaimed generational rant about why Nikita Kucherov needs to be the Hart this year, I would like to point out that he is averaging the most amount of ice time in his career this year and is getting better as the season is going on. That is ridiculous. Wow. And granted, there are some, I believe against the Leafs, he only played 17 and a half minutes. Against the Bruins a couple weeks ago, he only played 19. In the game where he had 4 assists against the Sharks, he only played 16-40. And he's still putting up these ridiculous numbers no matter what his ice time is. But his ice time is increasing this season, and it does not matter. He is putting up way more points. Once again, the NHL's first star of the week, not only our first star, but the NHL's first star, and gets no respect. Matt, I would let you start off with the honors on why Nikita Kucherov needs to be the Hart.
Why he needs to be the Hart. I don't know if you guys saw this, but PK Subban, he went on a rant on why Kucherov should be the Hart winner. And this is a guy with no dog in the fight. Oh, dude, it was actually a great video, and he explained it perfectly, especially talking about the differences in playing as a winger versus playing as a center. You're not relying on other forwards distributing you the puck. You're relying on your defenseman, and you're the guy skating it up the ice, and you're distributing it to your center. It is straight up harder to do as a winger. So he is a very unique winger in that sense, but I would highly recommend you going to watch PK's little analysis on it. I'll send it in the chat afterwards or something, because he did a great job analyzing why. And nothing against McKinnon or anything, but it's kind of hard to lobby for a guy to win the heart when, you're finishing with less points. Your team is doing way better. You have another 100-point player on your team. You've got a Norris candidate year in, year out. And I know a lot of this sounds very similar to what the Lightning are dealing with. But Braden Point, he's having a great year, but I feel like he's a little bit more of a Kucherov merchant than Rantanen is a McKinnon merchant. Victor Hedman, he's not the same guy that he used to be. He can still put up the points. Defense is a little suspect. I hate to admit it, but Cale Makar is the total package. He's playing great at both ends of the ice, and they've got a very deep team. They're not a one-line team, kind of like the Lightning were earlier this year. Now we start to see the depth coming, but again, he literally willing the team to the playoffs. Whereas, let's say if McKinnon, got injured or whatever in the season, the Avalanche would still, make the playoffs at the absolute worst third in their division. I don't think he is by definition, I just don't think he is as crucial to his team. This is Nathan McKinnon as Kucherov is to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that is the definition of the heart, essentially.
Well, it's most valuable player. Who is the most valuable player to their team? And I saw someone make the argument too, like, well, let's not forget the Lightning still have, Vasi, Stamkos, all the point. And they do, you're right. But Vasi was hurt for majority of this season. And you look at these other guys who are just not like, here's a perfect example. So I pulled up the stats. Both the Edmonton Oilers and Colorado Avalanche, the second top point scorers for their team. Draisaitl has 102. And then Rantanen has 102. For the Lightning, Braden Point's only at 85.
Oh my God.
It's not, he's got so many more points than anybody else on the team. And like, if he's not on the team, I think the Lightning probably still sneak into the playoffs, but it's definitely a lot harder for the Lightning. I mean, then maybe even not. To me, when there's that much of a point gap on a team and how much he has done and how good he is. And like you said, Matt, he's probably going to be, if he ends up leading the league in points, hitting 100 assists, like there's so many things that he's just so far ahead of everybody else. I don't understand how he can't be the most valuable player on any team for that matter, even if he was with Connor McDavid on a team.
And I don't remember the exact stat or who posted it. It might have been Andrew Weiss, but something about the difference in points from the leading and the second highest scoring player on a team, Kucherov and Braden Point, it is the biggest difference in points between two teammates since the salary cap was installed 20 years ago. 51. I mean, I would probably bet that there's somebody leading their team in points that has 51 points right now. And to have that as a gap between you and your next closest teammate is insane. It sounds so crazy. It sounds crazy to read. It sounds even crazier saying it. So I don't know. And I think a big bias against Kucherov and in favor of McKinnon and McDavid is they are flashier players. They are speedy players, and they use, their strength and their speed and their flashiness to create the plays. That's why people think they're so much better, is because they're a lot more explosive with it. Whereas Kucherov, he's such a cerebral and he's about finesse, and he doesn't look as good. He just quietly gets it done. So I think that's another thing, working against him. I don't think that should be, a determining factor at all. But unfortunately, that's just one of the, 50 things, that people probably have a bias against Kucherov for. Sorry, I keep rambling, Michael. Do you want to get a word in or something?
I would love to. Sorry, Jake, but I just want to say he is in 50.18% of all Lightning goals. He is 51 points above Braden Point, who is second on the team. Another thing that I don't want to dive too deep into, but every other candidate for the Hart Trophy is Canadian. They are being pushed by the Canadian market.
But Austin Matthews is American.
No, he's no one's considering Austin Matthews right now.
No, I was kidding.
Elliot Friedman tweeted out when the Penguins were fighting for that spot, hey, Sidney Crosby for the Hart potentially. No, the top three are set already. It's Kucherov, it's McDavid, and it's McKinnon. If you're going to have a debate about those three, great. I can understand each side. I disagree with it. I think the kid Kucherov has been the most valuable player to his team, but those are the three finalists, and they have been pretty much since middle of March. like early March. Ultimately,
December.
even further back, yeah. So ultimately, like, this is a guy who should win his second Hart Trophy. I don't know if he actually cares about it. This is something that I want to bring up, and I want to get your guys' opinion. I think he cares about Ted Lindsay more, which is the Players MVP. I think he would actually care more about getting admiration from fellow players than the media, because he hates the media.
That's an interesting take, Michael, but I don't know. I don't think he really cares about either of them. I think he really just wants the scoring title and maybe the Conn Smythe. I think he really just wants to cement himself as the best player in the league. And, he's got some really tough competition. The trophies do help. I think the Ted Lindsay is McKinnon's trophy to lose. I think the Hart personally is wide open. I think, everybody will tell you, yeah, McKinnon's the best player in the league this year. The players would say that. That's why I think, he's a lock for the Lindsay. And I might agree. He definitely going back to the flashiness of him, but the Hart's the one that people care about. It's still, to me, wide open. I think the media already has their mind made up, but we'll see. It's going to be a race down to the end of the season, but I don't know. I think Kucherov, he I don't know if he wants to be respected, because of course he wants to be respected, but I don't know if he cares enough about it. I mean, you saw what he did at the All-Star game. And a lot of people, hate what he did at the All-Star game, but at least in this specific conversation, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about all the people, that were watching him during the skills competition. He half-assed the heck out of it. He really did not care what he was doing out there. He just wanted to get it over with and get it done with. So who cares what other people think about him, whether it be his peers or the writers or the general managers, as long as his coach and his teammates think he's a good guy, as long as he thinks he's doing well enough, I think that's all he really does care about.
Actually, Kucherov doesn't even think he's doing well enough. He's been on record multiple times saying he can do way better, which is just so funny to me. But yeah, no, I don't think Kucherov really cares at the end of the day about these trophies. He's always there to win Stanley Cups and then drink a bunch of beers and have fun during the boat parade. But it's hard to tell, obviously, because he doesn't talk to the media a ton. And I don't think that means he hates the media. I mean, he talks to Chris Krenn a lot. He did the whole sit-down interview with him as well. But that's Kucherov for you. That's just his personality.
I think he just hates the camera. I think that's what it
is.
Get him in a one-on-one setting.
Yeah, just got to get a couple beers in him, though, and you're good to go. All right, let's look ahead.
I do want to bring up one other thing. Matt, you brought up the only thing that's pretty much missing from his trophy case is the Conn Smythe. What more does he have to do to win the Conn Smythe?
I mean, do you disagree with the two winners from the back-to-back years?
No, not at all. And that's what makes it ridiculous.
It does.
Look, this year, Kuch is if the Lightning win it, Kuch is a lock. I mean, because if the Lightning are getting it as far as they are, it's probably because Kucherov is going to put even more points. So I would be shocked if the Lightning win the cup.
Until they give it to Canadian boy Braden Point for putting up 15 goals in a playoff.
Okay, but he was awesome in those playoff series too. So I would honestly
he didn't win the Conn Smythe either.
I know. What was it? 2021. It was like I can't remember.
In both years, he tied it. He broke the record, and then he tied his own record.
Dang, I knew he was good in both years, but I thought one kind of outweighed the other. But again, I think both trophies went to the deserving guys. Victor Hedman with that crazy bubble year, and Vasilevsky being prime, Dominic Hasek or Patrick Waugh. It's hard to argue against those guys. But Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov both deserve a Conn Smythe, at least one in their career, and there's still plenty of time left.
Yeah,
exactly. Let's look ahead at the remaining schedule here for the Lightning. As I mentioned, they've got 8 games left here, or 5 games, excuse me, 4 at home and 1 on the road. You got Columbus coming up here on Tuesday on the 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then Ottawa on Thursday the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. And then on Saturday, they'll be taking on the Washington Capitals on the road for their last road game. That one at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. A little bit of a weird start time. And then I'll jump ahead a little bit here. We'll have another episode for you guys to take a look at these games as well, but it'll be against the Buffalo Sabres and Toronto Maple Leafs on the 15th and 17th, respectively, to close out the season. So, guys, a couple more home games here, one last road game. What are you looking for the Lightning this week as we get ready to close the season?
Keep the guys healthy. Of course, with the final remaining games, I think we'll have one more show before the end of the year.
Mhm.
That is the
Obviously,
plan, yes.
start sitting some guys. Start sitting Vasilevsky. Also, it might depend on what the playoff seeding looks like. If there is an opportunity to pass, let's say Toronto or something like that. Try for that, and then once you are locked in, start resting guys. The only guy I don't want to be rested, unfortunately, is Nikita Kucherov. I really want him to win the scoring title. He already missed a
You
game
wouldn't want to
earlier.
be arrested, let's be honest.
No, nobody does. I think all these guys want to play these games, but just finish it out strong. As far as this week, again, just keep winning hockey games. You've got some pretty easy opponents, and this always bites me. When we have three air quote easy games, on the schedule. I'm going to the Columbus game tomorrow or today when this drops. So hopefully they don't disappoint me there. I've actually had a pretty good track record going to games this year. I'm like 6-1 or 6-2 or something like that. So hopefully we keep that going. But again, just finish the week out strong and put some more points between McKinnon and Kucherov. I'll be a happy camper.
I would like a sweep. I don't think that's that ambitious. There are 3 teams you should beat. So
Oh no.
I would like a sweep. I would like 10 points for Nikita Kucherov. The Lightning are 1 point away from clinching the first wild card spot. So no matter what happens for the rest of the season, they can't fall down to the second one. If they get 1 more point or one of the teams loses, which they obviously will, it's the Metropolitan. And then the Atlantic 3 position is the only spot you're really fighting for. So really want to see certain guys, have a night off. Eric Chernak is a guy that needs a night off. Victor Hedman is a guy that needs a night off.
No, he's on my fantasy team.
There it is. I was waiting for it all episode.
You have enough guys in there we go. You have enough guys in the lineup rotation to make up for that. Whether it's Hayden Fleury, Calvin Hahn, call up Max Crozier again. I like watching Max Crozier play. Call up Declan Carlisle. Call up Gage Gonsalves. Like call up these guys. Yes, call up Max Grosjean. You have all of these guys. You still have, I believe, all 4 of your call-up slots available. Maybe it's 3 because I think Lilleberg got changed from an emergency to an actual call-up. But you have 3 spots open. So I think the Lightning are going to strategically use those spots to sit guys and call guys up to keep getting the lineup.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here, Michael. One, it's actually one of the things I enjoy about the NHL is you very rarely actually see guys sit just because they're locked into a playoff spot, which is fun for me as a fan, but I digress. But listen, the Lightning, you want to keep your guys fresh too. You don't want to get them rusty at all. And these guys want to play and they're going to keep playing. The only reason I think they may not play is if they have any sort of little injury. I think they'll be a lot more precautious. Like if a guy's even a little banged up, then they'll rest them and make sure they're okay. But if they're fully healthy, I would be surprised not to see them in the lineup, especially a guy like Andre Vasilevsky, who just doesn't care. He just wants to play every single game he can. But that's Vasilevsky for you.
So
sorry, Matt. I'm gonna take you back to the interview we did a few weeks ago with Chris Stegman. What did he say? Everybody gets hurt. Everybody has an injury. You can find an injury to give a guy 1 game off. I'm not saying sit guys for 3 games in a row, get them rusty.
Maybe sure.
But like guys need a night off. Like, Connor Sheary too. Yeah.
Hey, when Sherry scores the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we'll come back to this conversation. But
from the press box.
Anyway, the Lightning, the biggest thing is to stay healthy. You're absolutely right. That's the key right now. Stay healthy. Don't rush anybody back. If they do get banged up at any point, if they do get banged up, hold them out, all that fun stuff. The Capitals, I think, will be the toughest matchup for the Lightning this week just because, listen, this is a team playing for their playoff lives, and they will give you their 100% best effort. The Lightning should respond with their best effort as well, but that's sometimes how these things go when you get late in the season like this. But it's coming out of the wire here. Lightning 4 points behind Toronto. Toronto does have 1 game in hand if you're wondering about that, but the Lightning do have a game left against the Maple Leafs, which is the last one of the season. So,
Jake, before you sign off out of here, I have a question for this coming week.
Do it. What you got?
All right. Matthew Joseph hat trick or 1 goal against by Alex Ovechkin? You choose one.
Matthew Joseph Patrick.
Oh my God.
No question. All right. I mean, listen, that's just I'm a much, I'm not a Capitals fan, so I'm going to go with the Joseph hat trick. All right, that's going to do it for us in this episode. Thank you guys so much. Let us know in the comments down below. Would you take the Matthew Joseph hat trick or the Alexander Ovechkin 1 goal? Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. As always, though, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one. You don't miss some live streams, which we'll be doing more of in the future. But that's going to do it, guys. We'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolts!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.